When Honda released their sales for May 2024, it was pretty good overall, up 11%. The Civic is up nearly 50%, the CR-V up 11%, the HR-V up almost 50%, the Odyssey is up almost 10%, the Pilot up 20%, MDX and RDX both up quite a bit as well. So if you just walk away there, you think everything's rosy and rainbows, right? But what the heck happened to the Accord? The Accord is new. Why is it suffering this much? I don't have information on the Passport or Ridgeline today, but I have information on why the Accord, why the Acura Integra, and why the Acura TLX, why those three sedans, well, you can say lift back on the Integra, right? But why those three sedans are down so much? What is going on? Is it a lack of demand? Is it a supply chain thing? Is it a production snag? Well, we're going to get into it. Grab your snacks and drinks, buckle in, and hit the like button while you're at it. And don't worry, I made a spreadsheet to make sense of what's going on, but I want to thank McQuavius. He is one of the followers on the channel. He sends me information and news updates on Instagram. So if you guys have Instagram knowledge that I haven't spoken about or addressed yet, feel free to always send those sort of news updates to my Instagram messaging. Slide into my DMs, guys, if you want to update me on automotive news going on in the industry. But over at Car Scoops, we have more information of what's going on with the TLX, the Integra, and the Accord. So they have an update here because Honda reached back out to them after them seeing this irregularity and this huge drop in sales. And we're going to compare that irregularity and drop in sales compared to, let's say, the new Camry, maybe some of the Lexus sedans as well. A Honda spokesperson reached back out to Car Scoops to address the drop in sales of Acura TLX, Integra, and Honda Accord. They're all built on the Marysville, Ohio assembly line. Now, I can't get my head straight with a lot of Honda products. It's due to probably my lack of staying up to date on it, but look at all the stuff that's been discontinued out of Marysville, and then you'll understand why it's hard for me to keep up. NSX has left, right? That was in the Performance Manufacturing Center. ILX was replaced by the Integra. RDX moved out of there in 2012. The CRV moved away just a couple years back. The Accord Coupe will rest in peace, man. Oof. Ooh, don't want to talk about that. And the TL was replaced by the TLX. So there are things moving in and out of there quite regularly, seemingly throughout its history. The only vehicles currently that are produced there are the Honda Accord, and that's the turbo as well as the hybrid, and it's always been produced there. The TLX has always been produced there as well, and the Integra has always been produced there if you include the ILX. Now it's just these three models, and these are the three models that are down quite heavily. Again, the Accord down 31% on a volume basis for the month of May, down 17% on the year. Acura Integra down 8% on the month of May, down 17% on the year. And the TLX down 75% on the month and down 50% on the year. What is happening? Let's go back to Car Scoops. The Honda representative said these declines are not due to demand plummeting, but I will address that too to see if the demand is plummeting, because we're going to look at some sales numbers here as well as inventory numbers, and we'll be able to tell what's going on to a certain extent. But they've expected impacts due to significant reconfiguration of their Marysville auto plant where they are all built, combining lines 1 and 2 into a single line. And we have actual official information on this. In April 12th of 2024, Honda came out with this huge press release. I made a video on it, but it is super dense of them shifting pieces around in order to get ready for electrification, specifically battery electrics. Honda wants to be fully battery electric or fuel cell by 2040. And so this came out, when did this come out? April 12th. And if we go down to the Marysville auto plant, key changes at MAP, which is short for Marysville auto plant, include both the startup of EV production and the subassembly of the IPU. What is an IPU? This IPU, Intelligent Power Unit, houses the EV battery and serves as part of the vehicle platform. It is the structural battery case for upcoming Honda battery electric vehicles. It's there to not only hold the batteries, but also to form the floor of the car. We see this in Teslas, for example. And they will be adding gigacasting to the front and back end to join to this centerpiece, I think, in the next few years. Okay, I'm not going to get too much into that right now. So let's go down to the specifics on Marysville Auto Plant, where they make this Accord, TLX, and Integra. Line consolidation. That's what over at Car Scoops, this Honda representative was talking about. Marysville Auto recently consolidated 2 production lines, tearing out much of line 2 to enable production of both EVs and ICE vehicles, which include hybrids, on the same line. Now you have, instead of 2 lines for 3 vehicles, you have 1 line for 3 vehicles. And unless there's some magic going on, there's just no way you can have that same sort of volume, production volume on those 3 models. They have to come down. The additional space, since line 2 is gone, if you want to look at it that way, will be used to improve the ease of movement for people on the line and the efficiency of line-side parts delivery and staging for assembly of both internal combustion vehicles and EVs, as well as the expansion of vehicle quality area to verify software-dependent vehicle functions. Well, we're not to the point of software-dependent vehicle functions, but this new assembly line is going to be extremely flexible. You'll see hybrids, you'll see gas, you'll see Type S models coming down here, and you'll see battery electric vehicles, Honda and Acura, all coming down the same assembly line. That's pretty mind-blowing. So we're just going to have chronically low volumes of the Accord? Not so fast. A year ago, Honda is moving Accord production to Indiana as part of EV Shift. Remember, the Accord has been built in Indiana since 1982, so well over 40 years of history. They also build the Civic hatchback and the CR-V over at the Indiana plant. So there's no doubt that this production shift, consolidating lines 1 and 2 in Marysville, has affected the total volume for those 3 vehicles. There's no doubt about it. But you have to look at things outside of production as well. What is the current inventory? What are the current sales? So I made a spreadsheet. It's the only way for me to realize if there is only a production issue and not a demand issue. So I sprinkled in some Toyota and Lexus competitors to kind of be the more stable measuring stick here. All right. So we're going to let's start with the Acura products here and compare them to Lexus. So starting on these bottom 4 categories. In 2023, the Integra sold 32,000 units. Currently in stock at cars.com, I looked nationwide to see how many Integras are currently in stock. About 2,500. So we have a little bit less than 8% of last year's sales currently in stock. The sales numbers year over year also telling. All right, it's not just volume being reduced on a production level, which that's not really hurting the Integra here because it has a high in-stock volume compared to the sales last year. So the stock is starting to grow at dealerships essentially for the Integra, despite volume being low from the production facility. It is still down about 9% year over year for the month of May, and it's trending in the right direction, surprisingly, because in the first quarter, it was down 16% compared to the first quarter of 2023. So the Integra is trending in the right direction here. It is still minus 9% on the month of May, and we'll see where it is when Q2 ends at the end of this month in June. And just because the sales volume is down here doesn't mean there's a lack of availability. There's plenty of availability on the Integra. Because if we look at the Lexus IS, so the IS has lower availability, is selling slightly better compared to last year than the Integra, which has higher availability. All right. Looking at the TLX, this is very low availability, 3.37% of current in stock compared to last year's total sales volume. There's just 563 TLXs currently on the market nationwide, but it's trending in the wrong direction. It was down about 30% at the end of the first quarter, and now it's down about 77% at the end of May compared to May of last year. Trending in the wrong direction, and it doesn't seem like Acura is prioritizing the TLX as much as the Integra and the Accord. Since I put data on the ES, which is kind of a competitor to the TLX, it is and it isn't, right? It sells quite a bit more than the Integra, for example, and the TLX. The ES sells about 40,000 units a year. It has a ton of stock right now. We currently have 4,000 units in stock, and that says, hey, we have almost 11% of last year's sales currently in stock right now at the time of this recording. However, their sales are trending in the right direction. Sales volume is up 13% on the Lexus ES, despite it being a little bit long in the tooth. And at the end of the first quarter, it was down 2.4%. So it's definitely trending in the right direction. And I think having this sort of inventory is helping the cause, helping them to be able to sell more volume. And like we saw with Integra and now the Accord, which we're going to get into, large stock is not contributing to also a large or a decent sales clip. All right, so let's get into the Camry and the Accord. Well, the new Camry just came out, and the stock here is the lowest we have on the list. They're switching over that production volume from the 2024 to the 2025 redesign. And so you're always going to have a drop in availability when that happens. So there's only 2% in stock of last year's Camry sales volume. However, for the month of May, they're only down 7.7%. They're up at the end of quarter one, 18% year over year. Okay, that was before they switched over the production to the 2025 model year. But the Accord, my friends, is the most worrisome to me. Look at the in-stock volume. It is triple that, essentially, a little bit less, but it's almost triple that of the Camry. And the Camry sells 100,000 more units per year than the Accord. And there's triple the availability of the Accord. Instead of about 9% down like the Integra is, the Accord is down 31% on the month of May. So this is saying, hey, despite a reduction in production, less cars coming off the assembly line for the Integra and the Accord, we are still seeing a lack of interest, a lack of buying demand with surging inventories and poor sales compared to last year. Now, at the end of Q1, the Accord sales were down 2%. It was almost a margin of error situation, right? But this wouldn't be complete without looking at the success of the Honda Civic in comparison. So there are a ton of new Civics out there now. Look, hybrids even showed up at this point in time on cars.com, but I'm including the SIs, the Type Rs, and the base Civics, okay? And I added this to the spreadsheet with the sales data that we had for 2023 and what we're seeing for 2024 so far. Now, the Civic actually outsold the Accord last year, which I don't know if that's atypical or not. I would have to look back into the history books to see if the Civic outsells the Accord. I know the Camry outsells the Corolla. Corolla sold around 230,000 units last year. Civic's not far behind it, but let's get into what's really alarming here. So both of them sold about the same amount of units last year, the Civic and the Accord, about 200,000 units. They currently both have about the same volume of availability across the nation at cars.com. Now, the Accord sold slightly less than the Civic last year, and it has slightly more available volume right now. We have a little bit higher available volume per last year's sales on the Accord than the Civic right now. But here's the difference, okay? We see the Civic at the end of Q1 up 36% compared to last year, and the Accord is down 2% at the end of Q1 compared to last year. And the Civic is moving in the positive direction. At the end of May, compared to May of 2023, the Civic's up 50% roughly, right? It's up 50%, and the Accord is sliding. It's heading in the wrong direction from 2% down to 31%. You could say, yeah, Kirk, obviously the reduction in production is a reason for that. No, it's not the reason, or should I say the only reason, because we have a big availability of the Accord, yet it's selling way worse than the Civic. Unless I'm missing something, this is the biggest information piece right here. You have two cars that sell pretty much the same compared to last year. You have similar availability for these cars. One is selling at a clip that is so much higher than the other one, up 50%, down 30%. And to add further proof to the Accord slowing down, the Civic outsold the Accord almost 2-to-1. Look, 24,000 units compared to 14,000 units, despite there being the same amount of vehicles, in theory, available for both of these cars. One's just selling at a much higher rate. It's on pace, guys. Okay, here's the thing. Maybe I should get the pacing out. The Civic at 108,000 units divided by 5 times 12, it's pacing. Guys, the Civic is pacing 259,000 units. 259,000 units for the Civic, and the Accord is pacing 163,000 units compared to last year. And last year, remember, we're seeing nearly 200,000 units. So yes, there's a drop in production here, but there's also a drop in demand for the new Accord. The Accord might not ever hit 200,000 units in sales ever again here in the United States. The Camry, however, don't be surprised if they hit 300,000 sales. I'm not saying they're going to do it this year because they had the model switchover, but when it's full running on all cylinders on the new model year, or should I say the new generation, let's say full 2025 when it's on sale, it might eclipse 300,000 units for the new Camry. This is a bit worrisome. You know, it's also indicative of the market, the death of the sedan, the reduction in, it's like the fading of the sedan. All right. The sedan was once the prominent race of vehicles, and now it is dwindling like the elves in the third age, if you guys know what I'm talking about. And even the second age, they were fading. So gosh, in 2014, we saw a peak of nearly 400,000 Accords. In 2023, when the new model came out, nearly 200,000. And now we're pacing, what did I say, 163,000? And now we're pacing 163,000 for 2024. I'm sad for the Accord. I'm sad for the Integra. I'm sad for the TLX. It's worrisome when you have new cars. The Integra just came out a couple of years ago too, right? The TLX just got a refresh and there's just no availability on it. The Accord is having less production and it will have less sales, but it's also seeing a large availability. I'm worried for the Honda sedans outside of the Civic. I'm worried for the Acura sedans. Integra should be fine, but I'm driving the Mazda 3 for comparison right now. The Mazda 3, I would say, is a direct competitor to the Integra. I wish it had a manual with the turbo, but it doesn't. The Mazda 3 doesn't have is a droney CVT. It has a very satisfactory 6-speed auto in all Mazda 3s, turbo and non-turbo. So it's just hard for me to recommend the Integra unless you're getting the Type S or you're getting that 6-speed manual. If you're getting an automatic Integra for the hatchback, just go get a Civic or just go get a Mazda 3 instead. So I don't know. There's just so many concerns I have for Honda, even though, yes, the Accord is switching production over to Indiana. The glory days of the Accord are over, while the Civic, guys, why didn't I pull up the Civic sales? Well, the Civic has not seen that sort of steady decline like the Accord, the large sedan in general has seen a decline, right? Even the Camry has seen some decline. But 259,000 units is where the Civic is pacing this year. That goes all the way back to the success of the Civic back in 2020 and 2021. So it is going back in time, reclaiming lost ground, but it's also siphoning a lot of those would-be Accord buyers into the Civic lineup. Why? The Accord is much more expensive than the Civic. The Accord is uglier than the Civic. Now that the Civic has a hybrid, why would you get the Accord, in my opinion, unless you have NBA players sitting in the back seats? I guess that's one reason you get the Accord. The Civic's more fun to drive than the Accord. It's more fuel efficient than the Accord. I mentioned it costs less. That's huge right now in the current economy with high interest rates and lower buying power for the customer in recent memory. So I got to end it there. I could talk about this for a long, long time. And I'll just see you guys chat it out down below. Long live the Civic. The Civic is just, it's heading in the right direction. The Accord is fading. The Camry is solid. It's a great vehicle. It's better than the Accord in just about every conceivable way. The Integra, I'm worried. I've always been worried for the new Integra because the Civic that it's based off of is more affordable and it's just so damn good. The new Civic, it's not new anymore, but the Civic is just fantastic. The TLX, I don't know what they're going to do with that car. I love the TLX. It's a really fun car to drive, but there's no back seat to it. I have more back seat legroom, I swear, in the Civic than I do have in the TLX. So anyways, I got to shut it down. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day and peace.